business purchases. And so I'm going to turn it over to Ryan now. With business valuations, probably not a lot in the PPP world, right? But as lenders are getting back into the 7A and 504, what are you seeing post-COVID, in terms of impact on valuation?
Yeah, we've seen pretty much an array of how COVID has impacted businesses, and it's great to kind of hear these stories about kind of assisting and being a part of the PPP process, because it's really been nice to see how it's been almost a bridge to assist and aid these kind of business owners and the sellers to kind of get to a stage where they're like, okay, we can still sell this business, but ultimately from a valuation standpoint, like we're numbers people at the end of the day, and so we care about looking at kind of what the business looked like on a month over month basis prior to the impact of COVID, and kind of seeing how the company is kind of gone throughout the year of 2020 on a month over month, and just seeing kind of whether or not they've been able to come back as various mandates and restrictions have lifted in each state. And it truly varies across the board. It's amazing, even just like take for instance California, looking at physical therapy practices, how different a physical therapy practice in Chico has operated versus Sacramento versus San Francisco. And it's very fun to look at. San Francisco company was obliterated. Sacramento, okay. Chico was thriving. And they all had very similar mandates with the exception of San Francisco, but from a state basis, very similar. So we're looking very carefully just at the monthly numbers to see how COVID has impacted along with PPP.
So, obviously some of these small businesses have taken out, first draw, even second draw PPP loans. How does that factor into the valuation overall? Does it?
It does. For one of the primary instances to consider is, so business valuation is performed as of a valuation date. And so what's known or knowable as of that date. And so our questions are basically geared towards, okay, forgiveness. So now that once we know the amount and kind of what the funds kind of went towards and kind of the documentation of that fund usage, it's understanding kind of when is the loan going to be forgiven, or has it already been forgiven, because we're performing valuations as of December 31st, but also into 2021, most recently as of March 31st. And so it can either be on the balance sheet or the income statement. And so depending on how it's being accounted for, it truly impacts the valuation.
Okay. So we do have a question. So this one is from Austin. Austin Smith